Hey guys, it's Austin with Zenith Firearms, and in this video we're going to be talking about drones, specifically the kit that I wear and that I use if I'm going to be piloting one of my drones. So if you're not really sure why a prepared citizen might be interested in owning a drone, specifically something capable of ISR, right? Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, I'm going to encourage you guys to go check out the video that Dirty Civilian did. I'll flash it here on the screen. There's a ton of context in there that I'm just going to skip over, and I'm just going to jump right into talking a little bit more about some of the concepts, and then we'll get into the kit. So the biggest thing when we talk about drones is that kind of their whole purpose, aside from the elevation advantage you get with them, is offset, right? Being able to be offset from any type of danger, and also in some cases your own team. These do have a very unique and identifiable signature, as we see happening over in Europe right now. And so when we're offset, that helps mitigate some of that signature aspect of it by being, away from our own team and the danger itself. We're going to talk about my kit and why we're doing this on the Zenith channel. Why don't we start with the kit, and then the weapon system will probably make a little bit more sense. The kit is it's actually a discontinued product. It is a Thing 2 from Spiritus Systems. I've had it for many years. It's been replaced by the Thing 3 now, but as you can see, it carries a few things on it, but it includes, which you're probably noticing, a shingle here, or rather a placard that holds my magazines for a ZF5. So let's talk a little bit about the weapon system itself and why I chose the ZF5 as my weapon of choice when I'm piloting a drone. Now, when we talk about being a drone pilot as a prepared citizen, one of the things that we have to consider is the fact that we're probably going to have to be our own security, right? So unlike in the military, when any type of drone initiative, they're able to allocate entire teams to that type of mission. They have people that are there to pull security for them. They have people there who are able to help out with other administrative tasks and facilitating that type of installation. You're not going to have any of that, right? It's probably going to be something that happens very hastily, and you're probably going to have to be your own security, which means you have to have the tools and equipment to do so, which is why I like these ZF5s, because of their size. So I have one main job to do, which is pilot the drone, but I also have to be able to be my own security. And so I want a tool that is small, easily carried, and stays out of the way when I'm not using it, which is why I use a ZF5 when I pilot a drone. So this one happens to be my ZF5P, full-size ZF5, or any of the other PDWs would do just as well. It's very compact, it doesn't weigh very much, and I'm able to use a tri-lug suppressor on here, like the Silencer Co. Spectre 9. And then I have a folding stock on here, a 20-round magazine, and a Emissary Development Accelerator grip. Now let's talk about why I might want to use a single-point sling instead of a two-point sling. Most of the time I actually prefer a two-point sling on any type of carbine setup, but like I said, my main job in this role is to be a drone pilot, and the job of being my own security is second. So I want a tool that stays out of the way as easily as possible, and something I don't have to necessarily consider where it's positioned as much, which is why I like a single point sling, because when I wear a single point sling and I have my sling slung in this sort of administrative fashion, it's going to actually let the firearm hang completely vertical. So I'll just let it drop. You probably can't see because of the table right now. This is actually hanging perfectly vertical. So if I move around, if I'm in, some sort of a vehicle, or I have a teammate near me, as I move, maybe to show something, manipulate the drone, manipulate the controller, show somebody something on the controller, I don't have to worry nearly as much about where my muzzle is pointed, because I know it's perfectly vertical to my body, right? It's parallel with me and it's pointing straight at the ground. So for a safety aspect, that's actually why this is one of the rare instances where I actually prefer a single point sling. So go ahead and just get this pulled off, and we'll talk about the kit now. Cool, so getting into the actual kit. As I stated in the intro, this is a Spiritus Thing 2, and it's actually pretty impressive what all I was able to do for piloting a drone with this setup. We're gonna talk about the smaller drone I use a lot, and then we'll get into the big drone. So the small drone actually does fit on this kit, which is one of the things I like about it. This is a GP Small from Spiritus. I just have a little Amazon pouch here. And this drone is the DJI Mini 2, I believe. This is either the Mini 2 or the Mini 3. Yep, so in that pouch, I have my Mini 2. And the thing I like about this is that it's tiny, it's very quiet. It's significantly quieter than most other drones out there. And as you can see by it fitting in this GP Small, it's man portable, right? So if my main job, right, is just being another guy on the ground, you know, working with my group of guys, this can just live in my kit and it's not very intrusive. It can just stay in that little pouch while I am not using it. And then the other thing I keep in here is just some cables, right? So cabling is kind of important when we get into charging the drone, maybe carrying some spare batteries and being able to charge those batteries. And for that, I actually have in this radio pouch, the Thing 2 actually has 2 radio pouches. In this one that doesn't have a radio in it, I just keep a power bank. So my power bank is what I would use to charge up a controller, my end user device, or maybe another drone battery. So this whole setup here is a fully self-contained drone setup here, right? So I don't have to have the big drone and the big controller in a backpack in order to have that capability. Now I do lose out on the optics package of this, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Getting into the front pouch here, this is a Spiritus Mark V with their CCS pouch on the front. And this is where I put my drone controller. Now, as you can see, I do have it tethered in here. You do want to tether any of your sensitive items. And what's cool about this controller that I actually wish they had on the big size controller is I can store my joysticks, the little posts to control my joysticks, in the bottom of the controller. So it stores in there flush. I'm not gonna break anything when it's in storage, and then I can just pop those on there when I need to. So this is the controller itself. This is what actually has the radio, right? The wireless link to the drone itself. So this has to be out. I'm using this in order to actually control the drone. But in order to view the feed on the drone, I'm gonna have to use a end user device, right? That's the military colloquialism for some type of cell phone running either iOS or Android. In this case, I prefer Android because I am doing some ATAK integration with both of my drones. So for end user devices, I'm just using a Galaxy Note 9. It's an older phone I had for many, many years. It's just lived on this rig. And it's all attached to the chest rig via Spiritus's EUD bridge, which is a fairly new product. Originally, I was pretty skeptical about whether or not I would need this because most of the time when I'm wearing an EUD, it's on a plate carrier. But I started putting this rig together and I'm like, you know what, that actually is really cool. And I'm gonna pick one up and I'm gonna use it. So what's nice about this, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and throw this on. So I just threw the kit on here real quick, and as you can see with that EUD bridge, the EUD, the display is right here, right by my face, which makes it really easy for me to see whatever it is I'm viewing with the little drone that I keep on that GP Small. And I can reach up here, I can touch and interact with ATAK or whatever application I'm using. Most of the time it's gonna be ATAK, and it just makes it super easy for me to have it all connected and all stay kind of as a nice trim piece of kit. And got the American flag. Love the American flag. This is a Juggernaut case and mount for my end user device. Makes it pretty easy. Moving on, kind of going back to this pouch here real quick. Right here in the front is where I keep a tethered screwdriver for replacing props. And then I also keep some replacement props and some screws for those props here. Now the reason I went with this kit that has the screws included is I actually have broken a prop on this drone before at a class, and it was only a miracle I was able to find the screw in the grass when I dropped the old prop because I was replacing it with the new prop. So ever since then, all I do is I keep kits that have the screws in them as well because it was a miracle I was able to find that one screw that I dropped. Moving further back along this side, this is where you're going to actually see my radio and the PTT for it. This is just a cop mic, but I could also use a tactical headset PTT. But this radio is a Silvus StreamCaster. Now, this radio is primarily marketed towards the military and law enforcement, and the ones I purchased, I was actually able to get from government surplus. Likelihood of you being able to do that is pretty low, but it's certainly an option that exists out there. What it allows me to do is not only talk to my team, but also stream my ATAK feed via this StreamCaster live to other viewers if they also have a Silvus StreamCaster on their end. So that's a pretty advanced piece of technology. One of the things I will say is that you don't have to buy a Silvus StreamCaster in order to have some good capability with your drone loadout kit. You can use just a basic DMR radio or maybe even a Baofeng, and being able to have that as part of your drone operator kit is how you're able to get the information of whatever it is you're observing faster to your other teammates. Remember, if you're going to be a drone pilot, The whole purpose of your job is to get information faster and be an observer and offset yourself from the rest of your team while doing it. And so being able to communicate to them as fast as possible what it is you're observing is going to accelerate and, multiply the benefit you guys are bringing to your team. So that's what I'll say as far as radios go. Again, you don't have to buy an extremely expensive one. Moving over to this side, which is a Spiritus Gista pouch. In here, in this little axle zip that I keep on the back part of the Gista pouch, is where I keep a rangefinder. This rangefinder is it's a SIG version. It's got like a 5 or a 6x zoom on it, so I can use it just analog as an observation device, and I'm able to range with the laser rangefinder portion of it as well. Now, why am I doing this? Well, again, if I'm in a drone operator role, I'm likely doing some type of observation and information gathering. So this is just another tool in the toolbox that helps facilitate that. If I'm trying to gather more information about something and I want to observe from a distance, but I may not necessarily want to launch my drone right then and there. So that is what the laser rangefinder is for in this axle high top zip in the Gista pouch. And then inside the Gista pouch itself, I keep a few tools here. Just keep a Sharpie and a pen and a notebook for some note-taking. The note-taking is just part of observation. So if I want to take down some type of report, whether it's like a salute report or some other type of information for something I'm observing, I have all the tools on hand to do that. Keep just a basic multi-tool. Pretty much every piece of kit I have is going to have some sort of multi-tool in there that's not really specific to being a drone pilot. It's just a good piece of kit to have. And then last thing in here is a Wi-Fi dongle. So if I wanted to, there's some configurations in which I'm piloting a drone where I actually can't use this EUD cable and I can't use my ATAK setup. And so instead, just get rid of the EUD cable. So this is just a Wi-Fi dongle that creates a tiny little Wi-Fi network that I'm able to access with my EUD or the big controller on the Matrice M30T. So that's all that is. It's specific to this piece of hardware. You probably aren't going to have a Wi-Fi dongle because you probably aren't going to have a Silvus StreamCaster, but you might. So there it is. That's the rig. We're going to talk about the pouch now as well with a top-down view. One of the last things I wanted to show you guys on this kit is actually the Spiritus brunch box that is attached by Velcro to the bottom. And what's nice about this is that if I'm piloting the M30T, which has hot swappable batteries, I can just throw both of my batteries in there and I have those batteries with me. Or if I'm piloting the small drone and I want a really low vis setup, what I can actually do is I can take my controller just fits in there, and you guys saw this in my get home bag video. I can still keep a couple reloads on me with these front elastic straps in the brunch box because, and I'm probably missing a piece of context for you guys there, I can actually remove the brunch box and it has the strap in here just elasticed in there to just make this a fanny pack. So it's just a regular fanny pack where I can have my controller in there and I have a couple reloads on me. So if I'm wanting to be really low vis and completely conceal myself as much as possible and not have a chest rig on my body, I can still have a couple reloads and a tourniquet. Maybe I throw an IFAK in here and it's nice and handy. And I still have that agility. And again, because it's Velcroed on here, all of that kit, all of the agility for those different configurations just exists as one thing I can just grab and go, and I can reconfigure it as I need to. So the big drone is the DJI Matrice M30T. And as you can see, it's quite large, right? It's about as wide as I am in terms of my shoulders. And it's extremely loud. Why did I select the Matrice M30T? Well, it is the kind of their entry-level enterprise drone, and I selected it for its optics package, not just the thermal sensor on it, which is basically a superpower when it comes to any type of drone use, but also the optics package on it is extremely powerful. The normal camera has a 80x zoom telephoto lens on here. Some of that's optical and some of that is digital, but is extremely clear. And one of the things I like about that is that means I can actually send the drone up, and even though if it's directly over someone, it's extremely loud and noticeable, if I'm extremely offset and I'm zooming in with that 80x zoom, it's way more difficult to detect. And like I said, that's basically a superpower on top of the thermal capability. The other reason I picked up the M30T is the controller. does actually allow me to just run ATAK on the controller itself, right? Like I said, I am streaming via ATAK, and I'm doing that all with the Silvus StreamCaster, and I'm able to do all of that, and it's all built into the controller itself. Now, the big downside of this configuration is this is not gonna fit in the front CCS pouch on my rig, and this drone is obviously not gonna fit in a GP pouch. So what I use to carry everything is going to be a Vertex Siege. This is the bigger version of the two Sieges. Can't remember the liter capacity on it. I want to say it's a 25 liter capacity. But what's nice about this is that it completely lays open, and I'm able to fit the entire drone in there, and then the controller can actually fit in this front little pouch here. So that is how I am carrying that drone, and that's how I'm actually able to have my entire kit load out for being a drone pilot. So I mix in my ZF5 with a Spiritus Thing 2 rig, and then if I need a larger drone, I'm going to transition to the Matrice M30T. So that's the entire loadout, guys. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments about the cost of this configuration, and it is not lost on me that this is a very nice setup that took me many, many years to acquire and kind of get configured the way I wanted. Even though I talked about some specific products and why I selected them, this wasn't intended for me to direct you towards any specific products, but actually get you guys thinking about certain concepts. We're a huge supporter of the Second Amendment at Zenith Firearms, and a big part of that is having the ISR capabilities that exist in modern technology. So that's why we made this video, gave you guys some things to consider, talked about why the ZF5 actually fits in that role so well, and give you guys just some principles and concepts to be thinking about. Being your own security if you're a drone pilot, why smaller guns fit into that role so well, and some of the other kit you're probably gonna have to consider if you're going to be a drone pilot for your group of guys. I hope this was some information that was useful to you guys. As always, we wanna equip you to be a citizen, not a subject. If you have any questions or thoughts or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. We'll get to them as best as we can. And if you'd like to see any other kit loadout videos, be sure to let us know about that as well. We may get to those, we may not, but we always like getting ideas from you guys. And hope that I answered some questions for you. As always, have a good day.